All right, we're going to kick off the birthday party for my beautiful little blue baby, Permission to Glow, who turns a righteous two today, a toddler, but a toddler. And I'm going to ask my good friend Elle. Are you unmuted, Elle? I think you are.
No,
You
no,
are awesome.
no. Yeah.
Um, we kind of have a lot to get to today, and as I was thinking through what would be actually beneficial to our community, to not just have some sort of big ego stroke for like, oh, I wrote a book 2 years ago. It's nothing like that. It's more like, what have I learned from this process? In some ways, I am much, much older than when I gave birth to this book 2 years ago. And then in other ways, probably because of yoga, I am much, much younger and am more hopeful and excited about book number two and so on. But I thought, what could be helpful to the community? And I started coming into tune with this idea around time. And I don't think we can make enough time in our lives for projects like Permission to Glow. And for better or for worse, I had a pandemic to work with or to work around, and it gave me the permission to chill and to like slow down everything else in my life to make time for such a big undertaking. And as I get into book number two, which is the book Permission to Chill, life keeps expanding. So like the kids are getting older, they need more stuff. Turns out they even eat more as they become teenagers, and which requires making more money, making getting more clients. And so this time pressure becomes real for us as we take on more and more creative endeavors. And has anybody ever struggled to find the time or to make the time for the stuff that matters most? Yeah, I think it's pretty universal. And I always consider myself an artist first. I was a songwriter and a musician well before I undertook the arduous task of writing a book. And just making the time for music, making the time for art, it can be challenging for all of us, especially when we have so many pressures in our capitalistic society around time to make the money, time to make the donuts, time to pay the bills, all that stuff. So we're going to get into this exploration today through the lens of the four permissions and Permission to Glow. And I'm so excited to introduce my good friend and teammate, Elle Dooley. Say hi, Elle.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to see all of you here.
Yeah, Elle has been so instrumental for me. I think I may have put it in one of the emails this week, but literally the day that I signed the publishing contract for Permission to Glow back in 2020, our good friend Shauna Waitenkamp was here visiting, and we sat in this publisher meeting, and I signed the contract, started that process in motion about a year out from publication date, so it's almost 3 years to the day. And that same day, I had this lunar astrology reading with Elle. So I consider Elle my lunar goddess, all things lunar astrology, which is about divine feminine, allowing, expanding our relationship to time. Despite how chill I may appear at times, if you know me, you probably know I'm anything but chill. I struggle from lots of overwhelm. And so to work with somebody like Elle so closely on getting insight into our bigger opportunities around time, I thought she'd be the perfect person to guide me through this conversation. So it's a little bit of a meditation and reflection on 2 years of Permission to Glow, but also I hope you walk away with some insights on how did I make time for this thing? How do I continue to make time for my most passionate work when life seems to be getting more intense and times can, on the surface, become more scarce? So does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. So hope you get a lot out of this conversation. And earlier this week, Elle is such a sweetheart. She said she was excited to do this, so she's going to interview me a little bit. And she said, "Do you want these questions?" So it cracks me up sometimes when Elle calls me boss. Do you think that's funny, Elle, that you call me boss? Because she works on our epic
I
leadership.
love it. Yeah, I love it. I love that someone who's younger than my own children is someone I can say, "Hey, boss."
Boss. Right, right. But in so many other ways, I consider Elle my boss. But she asked, like any good employee would, "Hey, boss, do you want to see these questions ahead of time?" And I was like, "No way. I just want to be in this. I want to be in the mystery of it. I don't want to be prepared or scripted." And I told her to ask anything that's of service to the community, especially things that make me squirm. I'm open to all of it. I get paid all day long to ask my clients very hard questions. So please, let them rip, Elle, anything you want to know and anything you want to share before we get started.
Um, I think this is going to surprise you, Casey. And I hope you brought your guitar. I hope you brought your guitar because this is really all about you and permission to glow. So you have another chance to perform today. That's how you're going to respond to these questions. But before we do that, I always think of a book as a portal to an unknown, kind of mysterious, yet to be, encountered experience. And so I would like to begin by, if you could allow a screen share, and if you could do that in a way that people can see what I'm sharing and you at the same time, or you and me at the same time, that
Yeah,
would be
totally.
perfect.
So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to just make you the host here. One second.
Okay.
I'm gonna make you the host. You're in charge, boss. There you go.
Alrighty. Okay. There we go. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
All right. So here's my first question for you. These doors are all portals. And I would like you to select one of them that you think best represents what happens when you enter permission to glow.
Well, is it the middle left turquoise teal door that looks old timey and sweet? Or is it the bottom left that's like a temple? I'm going to go with the temple. Go with the temple
All
door.
right. Okay. That's all I needed you to do with that.
All right.
So tell us.
Killing it.
So yeah, so you've decided that the portal to permission to glow is a temple door. What's in the temple?
I think of my guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, the temple of silence, the temple to go through the permissions, the temple of feeling. That's where all of my breakthroughs happen. I still struggle. That one kicks my ass on a daily basis. And that's where all the gold is for me at the same time. I wish it didn't work that way, but it does. The temple of power, personal power for permission 3. And the temple of service, Sangha, fellowship, community, all the amazing souls I've been able to meditate and practice yoga with and teach and coach over the past 2 years. So yeah, all the temples.
Well, there. All right. So as a writer, you send a big message out into the world. What are the messages that came back to you? Because I really believe that in the same way that your writing works on everyone else, it also works on you yourself and invites messages back in. So in the 2 years that have passed since the publication, what messages came back to you as a result of writing this book?
Oh, wow. Well, it's, I'm looking around at faces that have shared some of the most beautiful, profound notes over time. Hey, Benji, good to see you, brother. Thanks for being here. I told a client today when I was coaching them, she said, gosh, I can't make the book party, but I'm so proud of you and blah, blah, blah. And I said, one of the hardest things for me to be with are those profound notes. Like I dissociate, honestly, when I receive that level of feedback. I've received notes of things have saved people's lives, things have transformed people's lives, like stuff beyond what a kid from the suburbs of Ohio learned to do in college, and it's something I work on with my therapist, with coaches, with ever. They're like, why do I dissociate? And it's part and parcel with the permission 3 to glow in the dark. The darkness is ever present, and it can be hard to see our own power. And so I was really present to that today. That like I just work here, but also on days like this, it was so important to me to get the invite out for something like this, to acknowledge the work it takes and the courage it takes to show up in this way. Because frankly, it scares the shit out of me. It scares the shit out of me that I could have a job that is so high stakes at times it can be life or death for people. inspires me that this was all created from the ether of creativity and magic and leaning into the unknown. But honestly, many of my favorite notes are from people that are on this call. Like when I looked around and saw the faces on the screen of my mind, it were these faces. Jennifer Blue commented this week on LinkedIn that she's like, I'm starting it again. I'm cracking it again. And I think she read it twice the first time, right when it came out, and hosted the book party in Mansfield. And, so the impact it has on leaders, real leaders on the front lines of making their dreams happen for so many people in the world, that means the world to me. Benji Cohen, CEO, founder of T-Rex in New York City. I remember him sitting with his wife, front row, New York City, on a gorgeous night in Manhattan during the book tour. And New York is New York, so it's always loud. There was a concert uptown. It was like loud as shit. And I prayed to God and Guru right before. I'm like, just give us whatever silence you can. No pressure. We just need time to get this event. And it was like this vacuum of sound. And if you remember this, Benji, but it was like an envelope of sound. So when you walked on this patio, it was just pure focus and silence. And so I remember looking out and seeing my long-term client, Benji, who it's been a pleasure to coach and work with for years. And, just that silent acknowledgement of, I get what you're laying down. I get that this is who you've always been. While in the meantime, I'm terrified always to expose myself in this way. By expose myself, I mean, I'm a spiritual teacher for corporate leaders. There's no manual for that. I guess I tried to write it, and now I get every day of trying to live it. It's scary shit, but I hope that sums up the notes. The notes are, some of them are so profound. I can't even try to summarize them. They're just really personal and beautiful. And I hoped it lands. You hope anything you write lands at any time. And I appreciate every note I get back on the email list each week, but a book is different because people really commit and get into it. And it's like they have a part of you now. And so I try to just really absorb that feedback and read it. I do stack it all up and reread it on my hardest days.
Okay, I'm about to maybe make this one of your hardest days. Got your guitar?
Yeah, I got my guitar.
So here's what I'm going to do, Casey. From the intro, the 4 sections, which are the 4 permissions, and then the closing. There are call outs in each of those sections in the book, and I have selected one from each of those areas. And I would like you to magically think of the perfect lyrics from any song of your choice that expresses that particular message.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So from the intro, the 4 permissions are what we've waited a lifetime for, only to realize it's been ours alone to give and receive.
Oh my gosh, I wish I knew how to play this on my guitar right now, but I don't, is it Earth, Wind, and Fire? You could help me out, KB. I want to thank you for letting me be myself again. That song, the ways that we reclaim our own agency to deploy our power. It's a journey back to being ourselves, and that's what I was trying to go for in that quote, I think.
And it's totally all right if you can't play on your guitar, because I know you can sing without accompaniment.
Yeah, totally. I'm not afraid.
Okay. So from welcome to a new season, at what point do we hit pause and ask ourselves, what is going on here? What are we so desperately distracting ourselves from?
So the title track of my second record, Season 2, comes to mind because I'm like literally living it with our kids right now. It's like, I want to live in the idiot box on a pristine street in a studio lot. Put my crazy ass in a formula plot. Hilarity will ensue. It's only Season 2. It's that need to, take stock of where we are instead of always chasing to get to the next thing. The most radical thing Gail Carter and I could do, being both punk rock kids, was to raise a fucking nuclear family and have dinner together every night. And we once owned a Ford, you know? So it's like in the ordinary moves, you could find the extraordinary. And I think that that's what I was after in that section.
Okay, from permission one, permission to chill.
I need
Speed
it.
through life without enough chill time, and you'll become well acquainted with overwhelm.
Speed through life without enough chill time. You'll become well acquainted with overwhelm. You know, I think of the second verse of In the Light. Remind me there's two kinds of fire. Remind me the danger is real. While one fire forges, the other consumes, leaving dust of what could have been steel. You know, people thank me all the time for my overwhelm because I choose to burn brightly. But if I'm not careful, there will only be dust, you know? And permission one is the foundational, essential first move, first step to creating anything sustainable.
And I just have to say, Casey, you are the only person I know that I could ask to do this on the spot with no preparation.
Or I'm the only one crazy enough. I don't know.
Yeah, aren't you glad you didn't want to know what the questions were ahead of time and how I was
Yeah.
gonna answer?
Oh, you're the best. I love you. It's amazing.
Okay, from permission to permission to feel all the feels. We launch feelings like flares to light our path ahead.
Yeah.
Love that.
We launch feelings like flares to launch our paths ahead. Launch feelings like flares. You know, I think of the courage it takes to be a beacon, and I think of the courage it takes to admit. For me, I don't know, does anybody else find it like really hard to admit how you're feeling? I'll constantly do the ninja poof smoke pellet and be like, look over there, and then I disappear rather than talk about how I feel. And maybe that's an Enneagram 7 thing. But we launch feelings like flares. I think that's in the section around feeling to create, which is all manifestation,
Right.
you know? And gosh. When I am still, I can feel, and I will glow. We will glow in the light. When we're still, we can feel, and when we can feel before conscious realization of the thing, when we can lean into our feelings, that feeling is what creates manifestation. And I think that's what I was going for there. When I am still, I can feel, and I will glow, and we will glow in the light. It's the vibration creating itself.
Yeah, perfect intro to permission number 3 to glow in the dark. Your glow is singular to you, and the rest of us experience it whenever you're aligned from the inside out.
Your glow is singular to you, and the rest of us experience it when you're aligned from the inside out. Oh my God, I'm trying to think of the sassiest song that I know, because it's like, there's like a sass factor in there, right? There's this old VHS home movie of my little sister Kelly, and she's wearing a fucking bright pink Bart Simpson sweatsuit, and she wore it every day of that vacation. So literally the sass was already peaking. And then she had like a really frizzy perm on top of it. And in this video, she does this high kick and she says, "I'm feeling sassy." And she like kicks it like at the perfect time. So I think of like, if I've captured that in song somewhere, where would that be? Um, I'm writing this song right now, weirdly, for Tom Bergeron. I don't know, like if you follow my Instagram stories, it's the most ridiculous thing. Like, and so in my crazy brain, I'm always like, is this a manic episode? Am I just an unbridled fire hose of creativity? I'm sure you can't identify with this at all, KB, right? Like you would know what I'm talking about, being the proper businessman that you are. But so when I get an inspiration to write a song for Tom Bergeron, he's the host of America's Funniest Videos. To me, the most iconic host. There's Bob Saget, and then there are a bunch of forgettable people before it reached the cringe factor of Alfonso Ribeiro. And Tom is the bomb. So anyway, I'm writing this chorus, and it's, where can I get some? What do you want? Where can I get some? What do you want? Where can I get some? What do you want? Tom Bergeron. Where can I get some? What do you want? And the beats are so fat that the kids come down and start dancing, and they're like, Daddy, this song is a banger. It's going to be sick. And that's when I know that it's not just mania. It's the right thing to do, right? But I think somewhere in that defiant creative act is what I was after, which is, why at the age of 48 is it my work to write a fucking song for Tom Bergeron? Because I can, because I choose to, because it's going to be a banger. And that's the essence of permission to glow in the dark. Like, who am I to not do that? If not me, then who? If not now, then when? So it's I'm using that song to be the first single for my new musical project, which is called Mantram. And I was talking to Elliot, who's our resident rock star singer. Her career is like way eclipsed mine at this point on the musical tip. And she's like, Daddy, that song's a banger. What are you going to do with it? And I'm like, well, I got to shoot a video, and there has to be choreography, and it has to be this diverse swath of humanity that looks like our local Walgreens store at like 11:30 p.m. on a Friday night. And she's like, you got to just walk into Walgreens and recruit people to be in the video. And I'm like, I think you're right, So it's, I'm leaning on her now to coach me on how to glow in the dark when it comes to music. So I hope that answered the question, but it'd be the sassiest song. And right now, the sassiest song I know is the one I wrote about Tom Bergeron.
All right. Sorry, I'm laughing. I'm trying not to lose it here.
Yeah.
Okay, from permission to glow in the light. All our individual work is in preparation to assemble into a unified whole.
Yeah. It still gets me, it gets me in the feels because it reminds me, I interviewed one of my heroes, Ani DeFranco, years ago. She gave the cover quote for the book, and she got really weepy in the middle of our conversation. And it was around the same thing. It's like the only way to save humanity from itself is to do this, to find the courage to love one another. Before we could even figure out how to fucking cooperate, let alone team up and innovate and solve these complex problems, right? And you see all this wild clown car of dysfunction everywhere in our government and in the climate change conversation. And but I've seen so many things that give me so much hope, around people getting out of their own way to find the courage it takes to love one another. So the chorus for In the Light. Now we're running on the stage, all awake in the dream, feeling unprepared. Oh, wait, how's it go? Now we're running on stage, wide awake in the dream, feeling unprepared, but willing to scream. Oh, I will glow, you will glow, we'll all glow in the dark. I've watched you prepare for this all of your life, and you're open to fail, and you're willing to fight. I will glow, you will glow, we'll all glow in the light. In the light. The courage it takes to be in our own power while standing in the full power of others. because people that are willing to stand in their own power aren't concerned with competition anymore. They're not concerned with fucking politics or posturing. They're concerned with the upliftment of every single last one of us. Paramahansa Yogananda, one of his many phenomenal quotes from his many phenomenal poems, there's a poem called God's Boatman, and I would encourage everyone to Google God's Boatman by Paramahansa Yogananda. But he basically said in this poem, I will come again and again. I will cross a million crags of suffering on bleeding feet, so long as one stray brother or sister is left behind. That's what it takes, for our families, for our communities, for one another, our fellow human beings, So I try to be inspired by that, knowing most days I want to give up too when people are uncooperative or pains in my asses.
Okay, last question.
Mhm.
You don't necessarily have to sing, you can just answer. On page 227, in closing, a garden of devotion.
Oh yeah.
What's in your garden, Casey? What does it look like? Who's there with you?
Mm. Oh, you want the real answer?
Yeah.
Gal Gadot, who plays Wonder Woman. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, when I wrote this, I remember getting really weepy that day, because I was thinking of, it's inspired by one of my heroes, Neil Peart, who's the drummer for the band Rush, one of the best lyricists, let alone easily one of the best drummers that's ever lived, but best lyricists. And his last recorded work with Rush, their last album was in 2012. It's called the song called "The Garden," and the chorus for that song, "The Garden," is basically, hold on, let me think about it really quick. The measure of a life. The measure of a life is a measure of love and respect, so hard to earn, so easily burned. The measure of a life is a measure of love and respect, so hard to earn, so easily burned. And it's basically like a garden that we could nourish and protect. And that's all life is this fragile garden, So I think of the movie Wall-E, where Eve has the plant and it's so fragile, and it represents the rehabilitation of the planet. Very topical for our situation we're in today. And when I think about my own garden, I picture my grandmother Nana, her garden. She passed it 100 years old a couple years ago, and she was the most epic green thumb of all ever. And she made a Jedi out of her daughter, my mother, who's amazing with plants. And so I picture these Buddha's tails, these succulents that are like 40, 50, 60 years old that hang in my house and in my mother's house, all came from Nana's sprouts. And we had to drive these fragile plants back from Long Island at some point. And yeah, my grandparents are in my garden. Of course, my family, the Carter Force 5 is in the garden. Neil Peart with his full fucking drum kit is in the garden. For some reason right now, I'm picturing Milli Vanilli, even though they didn't sing their own music, but they had that fucking sweet chest bump. I like the energy of Milli Vanilli. I always like the record. I don't care what anybody says. It would be the vibe of a profound family temple meets a sick barbecue dance party. Bootsy Collins would have to be in the garden. Flea would be in the garden. Les Claypool, bassist Primus, Paramahansa Yogananda, and my whole lineage of masters would definitely be in the garden. Probably the entire board of Yoga Alliance, because I'm just lucky to be in this crew, and they're some of the most phenomenal leaders. Kevin Karras is my local yoga teacher. He would definitely be in the garden. And any and all of you, whoever wants to be there, there's no cover charge, and it's a come as you are invitation. So The only dress code I would say would be business magical. Interpret as you wish. That's the dress code.
Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for letting me, do this to you.
Oh my gosh, what a gift. Was that enjoyable? Was that like helpful insight?
I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Al. That was a beautiful exercise. I'm really grateful to you, and I'm glad you didn't tell me to what to expect ahead of time. What I would really love to do is just take a few minutes to kind of come to center as a community, just a little quick guided meditation, um, just to maybe integrate some of the stuff that was shared here. I try to be thoughtful in what I share as a coach to be in service of anybody present, you know. Um, Believe it or not, it's as hard for me as it is for anyone to just hear themselves talk about themselves. You know what I mean? One of the things I learned with the book, all my friends for years had great books dropping all the time, like Jonathan Fields, Charlie Gilkey, Susan Piver, all these amazing writers. And everybody wants to be an author the week the book comes out, right? Like you want to go on tour and talk about the book and like, I did this and let me read to you from it. Let me allow myself to introduce myself, to quote Austin Powers. And the ultimate gift of it on the other side is like who you become in that process to earn the privilege of going out there and sharing anything that comes out of your brain, you know? And that was probably the biggest gift of it, was like not being a writer on the week the book comes out, but to grow into the teacher that could write something like that, you know? And so if you're thinking about a book and you dream about a book and you know one is in you, I know it's in you. This was a dream for 20 years. The way to get it out of you isn't to block your schedule and be like, I'm going to write from this time and I'm going to set a release date for this and like all that tactical shit we want to jump into. The way to do it is to give yourself the permissions and realize that that teacher has always been inside you and that teacher's going to write the book. You can't stop it from happening, you know? And then it's about setting up the workflow to support it and to like hold my calls and to, you know, but having that breakthrough in authorship for me was the biggest one. You know, that day I put my finger in there, I'm like, this is stuff that authors do. I am an author. And as soon as I did that, I got a text from my author hero, Jonathan Fields. He's like, welcome to the club. I heard you're writing a book. And the publisher kicked into gear and like all this momentum started happening. And all of a sudden, fast forward 2 years and it's like, this is my life now, you know? So I share that to push you forward into giving yourself permission for the big honking dream. It will make space for you, but your job is to shepherd it, be a responsible doula, you know, massage the process, but you can't force it, you know? So let's come together for just a second here. Let's close our eyes. Just close your eyes. Yoga, Nanda, Yoga, Nanda, Yoga, Nanda, Yoga, Nanda. I will glow, you will glow, we will glow. I will glow, you will glow, we will glow. I will glow, you will glow, we will glow. I will glow, you will glow, we will glow. Om Anirudaya Namaha, Om Anirudaya Namaha, Om Anirudaya Aniruddhaya Namaha Om 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 Aniruddhaya Namaha. And so as you bask in the silence for just a second here, meditating on that phrase, that chant, Om Aniruddhaya Namaha, the divine light glows through me with brilliance, with tejas. The divine light glows through you with brilliance. Let's picture that divine light glowing through us, and what are its impediments? What blocks it from glowing fully? Permission 1, absolute stillness, to be still, to hear the divine voice, to notice the pilot light glowing somewhere out in the darkness. It requires stillness. Om Aniruddhaya Namaha. Permission 2, to feel all of the feels, to be at peace with what wells up in our hearts to guide us. That once we are still, we will feel into this navigation, this gift from the divine pulling us forward. All the gunky stuff that might come with it, our trauma, our pain, all the way up into our absolute exhilaration and our joy, the full spectrum of human emotion. Permission to feel all the feels. Granted. Om Aniruddhaya Namaha. Permission 3. Giving ourselves permission to glow in the dark despite the ever-present fear. To lean forward into our authentic voice, our fullest expression, despite all the darkness that wants to hold us back or to keep us small. The courage it takes the ski jumper to launch themselves into open sky, leaning off the skis. Knowing we've been preparing our entire life for this very moment. That's prepared us beautifully. If not us, then who? As we release that fear, which is the resistance, we glow brighter and brighter. And as we do, we attract the allies. Permission 4. Om Aniruddhaya Namaha. What is possible for me? What is possible for you when we glow in our own warmth, in our own courage, in our own power, and attract like-minded souls, compatible components, compatible, fierce allies that fall in behind us and allow us to lift as we climb. The resistance is our resistance to receiving support, to settle for the small notion of we got this, the small notion of I got this at the expense of we got this. As we release and surrender into service, we receive the full power of others who only want to lift us, only want to support our vision, only want us to succeed, for the privilege of cheering us on, watching our glow. Om Aniruddhaya Namaha. Om Aniruddhaya Namaha. Just tune in for a second to what's alive in you right now. And if it is any distraction or noise or criticism or questioning of things, that's fine. But if it's inspiration or possibility or openness to take the next step, why not tune into that? That is the invitation of each of the permissions. So let's bring our awareness back whenever you're ready. I think that's what I needed today, selfishly. My little blue baby thanks you for coming to its toddler birthday party. And I'm happy to open up for any questions. Oh, wow, awesome. You know what made me so happy is I pulled this one. This one's Gail's copy, my wife Gail. And all of her highlights are in it. And, dog-eared pages and notes. And it's the best thing about being an author is finding people's like copy that are just beat up and used. I love that. It makes me really, really proud and really happy. I wanted to let you all know that this winter, the last weekend in February, we are doing the Permission to Glow retreat at Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health. This will be the second one that we've led there. And I'm really excited about this one. Not because Western New York in February is the warmest place on earth, but there's something really remarkable about how it's like Hogwarts for yoga, Kripalu Center. It's just incredible. It's been there for 50 plus years. So they've dialed in everything from the menu to the way the classes fall. I did this Ayurvedic massage when I was there that has been so game changing for me. I think I still burst into tears from it periodically. I got to tell you a funny story about that in a second. But the Winter Glow retreat is something I'm really excited about. That's my big next. I decided to clear our retreat schedule for the fall in order to focus solely around filling February. So it's drivable from the Midwest. I drive there from Ohio. I'm going to go to Kripalu in a couple of weeks here, but I'd love you to consider that. Look it up. It's all alive in the links now, and think about it. But it's 2 days of immersive for permissions work. It's basically 2.5 days, Friday evening to Sunday. But yeah, check it out, Winter Glow. But that's pretty much all I had planned. I'm definitely open to questions. And I'm also happy to share anything about Ayurvedic massage if you're curious, but it's still continuing to kick my ass. Any questions come up for this crew, or did we leave any stones unturned that you need to know right now, or any questions related to this experience? Or I should say, what are your questions? I try to coach people to never ask any questions because people are like, zip. But what are your questions? What comes up for you? No, nothing off limits.
I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Book number 2. What's happening?
Yeah. Book number 2. It's kind of like kid number 2. Is there any good time to have another kid? You just kind of say a prayer and go for it, right? I originally started writing Permission to Chill, the book. I'm so excited. First of all, Permission to Chill is maybe the book I've always wanted to write. It's a book about meditation and making that accessible. Like literally, if I could figure it out, almost anybody can. Started writing it earlier this year. The original pub date was 2024. I decided to give myself permission to chill in that process because I was pushing it way too hard. So I talk about meta, right? So it's turning out to not be like the structure of the book is just really different from what I originally envisioned. It needs something totally different from me. And when I get into a book, the book becomes my boss. So for Permission to Glow, the framework became my boss. What do you need from me today, boss? And it was like, we need you to write this, write that, do that. And so Permission to Chill, this is ironic because it takes a lot of work to write a book, but the number one thing it needs from me is the chill. So right now I'm revising the timeline with the publisher, and I'm also opening up possibilities to think a lot bigger in terms of how we publish it. I want to think big. It's something that I think the world needs right now on like a real life or death stakes level is Permission to Chill. And of course, I want to skip ahead and write a coffee table book for men called Permission to Grill. I have this like stupid idea for like a coffee table book on like, it'll be like a book for men on like how to braid your daughter's hair without ripping it out. You know, KB probably gets this one, you know, so it's like maybe the fifth permission is Permission to Grill, which is like, come over my house and I'll talk to you about modern manhood, you know, and it's like all about how to care for girls and how to show up for tea parties and, you know, but, Permission to Chill right now has got its claws in me, and it'll let me know when I could give a responsible publication date and stick to it. Yeah. What other questions? What's anything? I'm excited about Permission to Chill. It's oh yeah, go ahead, Elisa. Help me say your name properly.
Yeah, you got it the first time. It's Alicia. Thank you.
Alicia. Beautiful.
Yes, I don't have a question, but I wanted to thank you for this permission to chill together today. That was all positive vibes. So just wanted to, jump in and just say thanks.
Oh, awesome. It's funny over your shoulder, over your, I guess it'd be your right shoulder, that love statue that's in Philadelphia. That originally that artist, my family took a family photo on that, like in the 70s. So like my dad's wearing striped bell bottoms. He's holding a cat. He's probably high. Don't tell Gary I told you that. And like it was my grandfather, who's my hero, my grandmother, and their six kids with spouses and pets and kids and all this stuff in front of that love statue. So when I see that, it's such a good omen for me, that at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Was that, believe it or not, I was scared to host anything this week around the book. 'Cause it's like, you always have that voice, like, who am I to? And these are busy people, and the book's been out and blah, blah, blah. But we got to celebrate and acknowledge the work that we do and find any reason possible to bring people together, So if it ended up being Elle and I for an hour having that conversation, I would have left with my heart overflowing. But the fact that I get to vibe with all of you and hopefully contribute in any way to your day ahead, it's everything, So thanks for acknowledging that, like this, I want to do many more of these things. Unfortunately, because of how busy the schedule has been, I don't think about them until too late a time, so I could probably do a better about scheduling things out and getting people together to do this. But, this is why I'm putting increased focus around the retreats, because when we do this in person, sit in a room together and play music and chant and meditate and activate 1 through 4 with the essential oils, like that stuff, it gets its vibes into you for good, and I believe we take that with us back into our lives, so that's what I'm looking more to do, is like more immersive in-person experiences.
Yes, well, I'm the newbie, that I just signed up for your newsletter. I think it was this week. So I'm looking forward to, going. I didn't read all the emails yet. There's a couple that I received. Yeah. I need to go through these. It looks like it's going to be very helpful information to chill and to now write a book, right? And this statue is actually, we have it in Iowa. I'm from Iowa, Des Moines.
Oh, whoa.
So they probably have multiple.
You're right. They probably do. Yeah.
Yes, but it's been there for a couple of years. It may move. I don't know.
It's the same size as the one in Philly. I could see the scale of the people standing in front of it. Is it the same size? The original one back in the day that my family took a photo of, it was massive, like really massive. And it became this really iconic thing for our family. But yeah, it's cool to see a collection of people that have known my work for a while, people I worked with back in the day in corporate, known different chapters of my wild journey through whatever this career is or this work is. I guess it's what I want to be fair to myself. It's evolution. I don't know if it's a career. It's just evolution. It's staying on a path. And that's what I hope you get from it. It's the courage to stay on your own path and to see what happens next.
Yeah, well, you inspired me to read the Yogananda, the autobiography
Oh,
of
cool.
a
Yeah, yeah.
yogi. And yeah, I've seen your speech
Oh, cool.
in one of your, on LinkedIn. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, it was on my mind to read this. And once I saw your video, I'm like, okay, I have to read this. There's something
Yeah,
to,
so
to it.
over here on my, it's hard to see, but there's a four permissions crest right here. Yogananda presides over
Yeah.
everything. So when I look at him, I mean, you could probably see this. The guru is, there's always a sticker close by, but that presence in my life is real. And if anybody's been to our events, you kind of know that whatever that sacred thing that shows up when we chant or whatever, that's all that lineage holding space, and autobiography of a yogi is so inspiring, man. My recommendation when anybody wants to tackle it is one chapter a day max, and just let it.
Lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to process. They're short chapters, but there's a lot there. So yeah, I'm excited for you.
Yep.
Well,
Thank you.
any other questions, because I want to be respectful of everyone's time and get you to the church on time. I found this little bowl-cutted fellow here. This is Chris Carter in second grade, I believe. I think my head is the same size as it was in second grade. Thank God, because my brother called me big head at the time. But I would encourage you to do this. Take a picture of you in like second grade and just put it out at your desk to watch you do your thing every day. Because at some point during the book process, I had to stop judging on and hating on and resisting that little kid, for being whatever the story is about your inner child, like weak or fat or awkward or crybaby or what. Like, we all have these projections of ourselves, right? And what I realized that this little fucker had was he was the kid that never ever gave up. Carried his guitar to school in the snow, carried his cello, got made fun of, became the director in the marching band, and stuck with art and bet on art in his life. And so this is the pilot light, is our inner child. And so I don't discount the power of having a picture of yourself as a youngster close by, because you get to turn to that kid every once in a while and say, thank you. Thanks for the courage. Thanks for putting up with people's bullshit. Thanks for putting up with my shit, because you deserve love and respect and hugs and care, pats on the head, all that stuff. So I share that because that was a breakthrough with my coach in writing the book. She's like, oh man, sounds like somebody needs to do some inner child work. I'm like, no, no way. It just felt like there's like soft skills, and then far down the other dimensional block is inner child work, right? But in doing that work, it was a massive breakthrough in authorship to realize that that kid always knew what to do. It was all the stuff that piled on since that got in the way. So with that, I want to send you all of the love I know how to send. Do you receive it? Yeah. Yeah, truly. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking through to the end, and sending you all the love. And I'm tempted to start rereading Permission to Glow. I read it 12 times in the various drafting process, so I'm probably good on the content. But every once in a while, when people find lines from it, it surprises me. Like, Elle, you picked up something where I realized, like, oh, I literally just worked here and channeled something, because I'm like, who wrote that? That's pretty interesting. So anyway, all right. Well, thanks for everyone. Sending you love. Have an amazing day. Please check out the Winter Glow Retreat. Reach out with any questions. I'm here to be an ally, here to be a coach, here to kick you in the ass to develop the big honkin' dream. All right. Thank you.
And Casey, you are the host again.